The podcast represent for the youths them. Have a right so we share for reviews them. Have a mind and a voice so we use them. Tell me why them a try confuse them. And we a spread unity, spread love in your community. And that's just who we be. Yet still we face scrutiny. Make a choice, use your voice, share your thoughts and human rights. Make a choice, use your voice, share your thoughts and human rights.
Children get in conflict with the law all the time, but today we want to break it down and actually understand it. My name is Tamoy Campbell, and welcome to Just Tea, brought to you by the JFJ. We want to hear youth voices, and that voice isn't just mine. I'm joined today by
Xavier McFarlane
and
Dashawn Carto.
now, guys, we're gonna get into it and break this down. What is child diversion? Now, Xavier, you were whispering in my ear before, so I think the people want to know.
Yes, child diversion is a beautiful alternative to actually having children being put to the rigors of the formal justice system. So it's taking them away from, going to court and being sentenced and that sort of thing to an alternative measure that could help them to remedy the particular issue that they've been in conflict with the law with. Yes?
Lashawn?
And I find that understanding what child diversion is, you can actually break down the term into its simplest elements. So what we refer to as child in this instance really are persons between the ages of 12 and 17, because interestingly in Jamaica, the age of criminal responsibility is 12. And when we look at who is considered a child or a minor, that's persons below 18. So that's where you get that 12 to 17
I
threshold.
see.
And the child in this instance is somebody who commits a minor offense. So something like a simple larceny, that's the offense that we're speaking about. And as Xavier rightfully said, that diversion is ensuring that they don't come in contact or conflict with the formal justice system. So more informal or communicative ways of remedying the issue or the offense that they're being charged with.
Okay. So a child breaks the law, all right?
Yes.
And we want to go through child diversion.
Yes.
Walk us through the mechanism. Step one, Xavier, what do we do?
So step one is the referral process, and they'll be referred by either the court or a police officer.
Okay, all right. When that happens now, Dashawn, what comes
That's
next?
when we get to step two, where the person being referred actually accepts responsibility for what they would have done. So whether it's your offense, you just say, yeah, me do it. You own up to what you would have done. And that's when we move on to step three.
Which is?
Which, in every issue, there's an offender and a victim.
Right.
So step three looks on the victim component, where the victim now consents to the offender actually participating in the program.
And when that happens, what comes next?
That's when you get into the risk assessment aspect of the program.
Right.
So looking at the child, looking at the offense that was committed, and looking at the circumstances surrounding the committer of the offense. So what would have caused the child to commit the offense, and helping them to understand what really would have taken place.
And then Xavier, what comes next?
And then after the assessment, you're coming up with a sort of solution. So there's a treatment plan that's developed that will then formulate into the program for that child to be diverted.
Oh, I see. All right. So I want to kind of talk a little bit about restorative justice. Oftentimes when people commit offenses, everybody think you're going to court or you're going to jail. But there might be other ways how we can have somebody learning their lesson without doing all of that. Dashawn, talk to us about some of the principles. Just share some of your thoughts.
So I think when we talk about restorative justice, especially in regards to the child diversion program, you have to look at the very basis of why we have the child diversion program.
Right.
And you have to look at international treaties like the Convention on the Rights of the Child, yes, and the whole idea of first resort. And that first resort being this restorative justice aspect of the criminal justice system. And so ensuring that our children aren't being put into situations that are not conducive for their growth and for their development.
Right.
So systems like the formal court system, it's not for a child. It's
Right.
not built for children. It's not built for remedying the issues and the offenses that they commit. And so the very underlying principle of restorative justice and child diversion is to ensure that we are we're exploring a remedy that works for everyone, especially the children involved in the committal of the offense.
Xavier, any thoughts?
Yes, I can piggyback on that because in solving every issue in society, even when you zoom into criminality,
Right.
in solving that issue, the justice system takes into account the perpetrator, the victim, and the society, like the interests of justice,
Yes.
which takes into account the society. How does the society feel about this? And that's like the policy direction. So the Child Diversion Act, of 2018 comes to solve that issue because now it allows for a remedy that's alternative to the students or the children rather, going to court, being exposed to the rigors of the formal justice system, but still meeting the threshold where the victim is being heard, the perpetrator is being held accountable, and justice is being seen to be respected or to be given when you look on the social construct in society.
So it's not that John Brown, who at 12 years old, do something, let's say him thief somebody car, and we just not go and make him go to jail. Him just get away like that.
Soft
No.
on crime. No, that's the biggest myth.
What people need to appreciate is that we want John Brown to learn his lesson, but him now got you the one bagarigas the up and down that formal court system, got big people jail, none of that. We want him to still learn his lesson for the person who felt as if, you have a thief make care that they are actually a part of the process, and at the end of the day, we protect the child's interest. So that's what I'm understanding.
And it also just saves resources because in some instances you have both the victim and the perpetrator going through this court system,
Right.
and then you have the files being sent to the prosecutors and having to go through the case, and then you get to a point where, let's say, the victim decides that they no longer want to give evidence.
Right.
And so you would have went through that entire process involving the court. The child has to be out of school to go to court dates, etc., and then the case is dismissed. And so we sort of evade that waste of resources, essentially.
Okay. This best interest of the child kind of notion often comes out every time we talk about children, youth issues, and children. I just want to hear your thoughts. Why we must even care about it? Why is this even important? How does this factor in this conversation?
I think it's because children are particularly vulnerable, being at their age or the age of development or the stage of development
Right.
that they are rather. And so whenever we're crafting policies, whenever we're dealing with things relating to national development that involve children, we really should be thinking about their best interest. And in this instance, their best interest involves not getting them instilled or putting them into the formal justice system,
Right.
because as Xavier would have said, that can be quite detrimental to their development.
Yes, and just to add, and I feel like that's why when you look on best interest, I think that's why the steps were taken for the Child Diversion Programme to be effective.
Yes.
Right.
Because if you look on the last step, that step 6, it's to reintegrate them into society.
Yes.
True.
So it's not just punitive. We don't want to punish the children, but it's understanding that, hey, children are the future. The future is now. They're growing. They need to be developed. So it is to teach them that, hey, when you commit a crime, it is a wrong. Once you do a wrong, you should be held accountable.
Yes.
And this is an accountability measure that will teach them. So when they grow into being adults, then we won't see this, we call it recidivism, a sort of reoffending. Yes? So we'll see them actually being model citizens and molding their children to even be saved. Yes?
And I think that's like a general issue with our justice system. So we oftentimes prioritize the punitive aspect of it. And so we don't believe in this whole rehabilitation because you just get sent to prison to do your time.
Right.
And beyond that, nobody really cares about what happens. But the issue is that that person has to go back to society. And we need to think about what happens when they re-enter our spaces and re-enter society. So have you learned about what you did and what's wrong about what you did? Have you actually taken the steps to be held accountable? And have you actually taken the steps to ensure that you won't commit the same offense once you leave the space. And I think with children, you have to really ensure that you're taking the time to help them understand, say, what them do is wrong, because they're exploring, they're learning about what is happening in the world. They're learning about this for the first time.
Well, what about those instances? And I'm probably playing devil's advocate here, but some people just can't see it.
Some people just can't see it.
Some children, unfortunately, may have committed a crime so heinous, so bad that honestly, incarceration is perhaps the only remedy, or in this circumstance, the best approach. What are your thoughts on that? Because I know for sure JFJ often believes that should be your last resort.
Yes.
And if children are to be incarcerated, it's for the shortest period of time. I want to hear your thoughts on that.
And so the Child Diversion Act actually contemplates that. And so interestingly, it's in its current phrase or in its current verbiage, it's only applicable for minor offenses in Jamaica.
Okay.
In some other countries, you have it being tailored or staggered. And so depending on your offense or the severity of your offense, the approach or the rehabilitative process varies. So the solution that is tailored to you based on your offense, it varies based on its severity. And so for the children that commit more serious offenses, I believe, or the JFJ stance rather, is that the rehabilitative solution should be tailored. So it's not a one-shoes-fit-all. So it's very much targeted, and it's quite effective once it's tailored to the offense.
Now we're going to hear a little bit more from Xavier, but right after the break, stick and stay with us and follow us on social media, because we'll soon come back.
I'm Dashawn, and I am a champion for human rights.
My name is Tamoy, and I am a champion for human rights.
I'm Xavier McFarlane, and I am a champion for human rights.
My name is Omalora Wilson, and I'm a champion for human rights, and you're watching Just Tea Podcast.
Welcome back to the Just Tea Podcast, brought to you by Jamaicans for Justice. I'm Tamoy, and I'm joined by
Xavier McFarlane.
And Dashawn Carto.
And we've been talking about child diversion.
Yes.
Now, if you missed a little bit, we're going to recap for you, because right now we want to have an appreciation for the types of offenses that can go through the Child Diversion Program. So, if little Johnny stole 2 apples off the tree, can he go through the Child Diversion Program? Xavier, talk to the people then.
Okay, so little Johnny, you're supposed to know that, well, I'm going to tell you. So in the Child Diversion Act of 2018, there are schedules. So Schedule 1 looks on the minor offenses. So minor offense could include theft, petty theft. And then Schedule 2 looks on moderate offenses like assault, And Schedule 3 looks on the more serious offenses like rape.
So little Johnny will be covered under Schedule 1.
Yes, Schedule 1. So little Johnny, if you thief the mango
And the
off a
apple.
sister pat tree, Schedule 1.
But what about if Miss Little Johnny did a more serious offense? Him stab somebody, that person that dead, him rape somebody, Dashawn.
So that's one of the serious offenses will be covered under Schedule 3.
Okay.
And I think also it's interesting to note that judges actually have discretion to determine whether or not an offense can be referable to the Child Diversion Program.
So even if the offense may not be categorized
Not explicitly
in
listed, yes. So
so
the
the
judge can step in and say, you know what, I think that given the circumstances, you should be referred to the Child Diversion Program.
I see. Do you know how often that is actually being done?
So it's actually an issue.
Okay.
So interestingly, the issue that we're having is that judges aren't using their discretion as much as they should. And so what we actually advocate for is for there to be an explicit list of offenses that are referable within the Child Diversion Act. And so this will also ensure some consistency and also ensure or promote the use of the discretion by judges.
And
Yes.
people want certainty, because
They
if
want
I know
certainty.
exactly what is allowed and what isn't allowed, then I know if this
You
remedy
can
is
tailor
afforded
your
to me.
ask,
And
yes.
bad to bad.
Yes.
Xavier, since we're kind of now going into the line of criticisms or things that we think can be done better, what are your thoughts? Where is the Child Diversion Program or the Act lacking? What you think we should be seeing?
So, in addition to the whole discretionary power and that limitation that's there with the listing of offenses, There's also the issue of the assessment process. So is the assessment process actually effective? And after the assessment process, there is an implementation of the program.
Yes.
So are these programs or remedies being introduced actually helping those children to be diverted,
Right.
for want of a better word, from the particular conflict with the law that they would have had.
And what I must say about the assessment process
Yes.
and the solution that's tailored, I actually like that it not only looks at the offense that the child would have committed, it also looks at other factors that the child might be facing or other problems that the child might have.
Right.
So say for example, Johnny got teeth the apple leg, and then upon doing your assessment, you see that Johnny is actually smoking. He's vaping quite a lot, and you're thinking that does that contribute to him wanting to steal or some other maladaptive behavior? And so what they would actually do is refer Johnny to something like the National Council on Drug Abuse. So it's holistic. It's very holistic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, so there are other partners along the way that
Other
can help you to
partners,
be
yes.
diverted or stay off the route of going to the
Yes.
formal criminal sense. So little Johnny, there's hope for you yet.
There's
Yeah,
hope
man.
for you.
No, a lot of the conversation about child diversion will also bring in themes of restorative justice. And if you don't know that, we don't want you to go through the formal court system. We want you to go somewhere else to solve your problem. But back to back, Deshaun, if you teeth my man, them off of my tree and me have my money for my lawyer, I want to see you go to jail.
You want to sing
So,
out jail?
yes,
Lock up. We
yeah,
don't
lock
have-
up,
Of course.
show the key. So talk to us now, what other pathways might be there that somebody doesn't have to interact with the formal justice system. I, as a person who you've
Yes,
done the action
who's been
against,
wrong.
can still feel like, yeah man, justice was served, but maybe enough for going for as many years as possible. Talk to us about that.
I mean, people, we love when we see, or sometimes we feel like the best way that justice can be served is for somebody to go get locked up behind
Right.
bars. But oftentimes you have to think about what happens beyond bars. And so when that person comes back into your community, Johnny got teeth apple again.
Right.
Because Johnny missed out his formative years in school. Johnny doesn't have a skill. Johnny doesn't have a bachelor's degree. Johnny doesn't know or doesn't have a way to provide for himself. So he got teeth again
Right.
and end up back behind bars. But what happens, or what if we actually took an alternative route besides the person?
Right.
What if we had a way, a communicative way, where we had a dispute resolution between Johnny and between you who've been wrong, and we actually looked at the root issue, and we looked at amicable solutions to solving that issue. And I feel like as a victim of an offense, you feel much more comfortable knowing that the perpetrator of that offense actually was one held accountable. They know exactly what was wrong about their acts, and that they're actually taking steps to remedy what was wrong and ensuring that they're not going to reoffend and recommit the offense that they did. Because one of the biggest issues with our traditional justice system is reoffending, as Xavier said.
Right.
And so we're sort of remedying that same issue of reoffending.
Yes.
Xavier, any thoughts?
He covered it brilliantly because ADR,
Yeah.
alternative dispute resolution, actually has like a slew of things that you can, use, like mediation,
Yes.
arbitration, and that sort of thing. And there are some that focus really on the victim, noting that yes, the victim is feeling this particular way
Right.
because of the particular wrong, but then you look also on the perpetrator. Can the perpetrator accept that they've done
That they've done
this
Right.
wrong,
Yes.
and that what they would have done would have caused the victim to feel this particular way? And then do you accept that you can actually change, and what remedy can help them to change?
Yes.
I feel like that is a better
It's a
approach
better
than
approach.
throwing them behind bars
Right.
to all the rigors there.
rigors of the
yes,
court.
and then they come back into society the same or even worse
Right.
than they went in.
Because I think people need to fundamentally appreciate that justice has a rehabilitative component.
Yes.
What that means is that yes, You've done your wrong, but you're supposed to come out a changed person. You're supposed to come out having understood what you did wrong, and I now want to do better and be better. So once people appreciate that that is important in ensuring that people are held accountable, perhaps their attitudes will change. And so I want to pick your brain. This Child Diversion Act is ripe. The conversations are being had. There might be things that need to be done. We want to hear your own perspective. What is it doing right? What you think should be better? What do you think is missing? And I'll give you some time to think on it, because I must want G's at SAD, because I have to know. Let's make it marinate little. And if you at home, we want to hear your thoughts as well. You know about the Child Diversion Program, put it in the comments and let us know what you think about it, what you think should be better. If you don't really understand, make we know so we can also assist you, because we're here to shed our perspectives and make you a little bit more knowledgeable about what's going on.
So I can already predict that somebody in the comments will mention, but wait, I have to accept that what I did was wrong, but what if I think that I didn't do anything wrong? So there are instances where the person that's being referred to the Child Diversion Program actually believes that they haven't committed a wrong, or that the whole idea of accepting that they committed a wrong, it disincentivizes them from wanting to be a part of the program. So that can be an issue. I think I even remember a situation where there was this young girl, I believe she was around 17, and police visited her home. They were looking for her brother, was in the bathroom, and she refused to give them access to go into the bathroom where her brother was, give him some space, give him some privacy. And the police draped the young lady, and her top was exposed, and they actually charged her for assaulting the officer and for using indecent language. And so if she was supposed to be referred to the Child Diversion Program, she would have to accept that what she did was wrong, that she would have assaulted the officer, that she would have used indecent language. And so you have that very issue. And as about the conversation we were having a while ago with regards to, let's say you're the victim, and you don't want him to go in a child diversion, you want him to go behind bars. The fact that you have to give consent, that might be a barrier. So child diversion might be a very good solution, but once you don't get a consent, although there are instances where the judge can object, and the judge can step in and say, wait, you're thinking too much about the punitive aspect. Child diversion would be a good solution, but it's still an issue where persons refuse to consent to going to the Child Diversion Program.
I see it. Davia, any thoughts?
We were having a conversation about the Child Diversion Program, and we noted that the sort of measures, or if you're supposed to be subjected to that program, it's, for want of a better word, weaponized against a particular sex.
Yes.
And that sex is actually the male. Yes. Yeah. And I feel like if we want a system to be flourishing in society, there must be some level of equality. Yes. So everybody equal before the law, man, woman, boy, and girl. So that particular thing or that particular gap should be filled in the system.
And I'm glad that you mentioned the whole idea of inequality in this dispensation of the program, because interestingly, I think it's about 62% of the offenses or of the cases that are referred to the program are related to sexual offenses. One of the biggest issues that we're having is sex with a minor, so sex with somebody under 16. And the issue really is that you have two consenting young persons who may be exploring or who may be in a boyfriend and girlfriend relationship that are having sex with each other. And interestingly, the boy or the male in this instance is oftentimes a person who is charged. And so the boy will be charged while the girl or the girlfriend is referred to the Child Diversion Program. So there was actually an instance where you have two individuals, they're both 15 years old, and the boy was, I think, charged, or he was claimed to have digitally penetrated his girlfriend. I don't know how want to say this in the most diplomatic way. I guess it's what the young persons call fingering.
Aren't we the young person?
What we would call fingering.
That
So
Right.
he fingered his girlfriend. He digitally
Mhm.
penetrated her, and he was actually charged while his girlfriend was referred to the child diversion.
Even though
program.
that's an act they're doing together, you'd
Even-
think that both of them would be referred to the
Yes.
program.
So you see how
That is a
yeah,
gap.
that is a
Yeah.
gap.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's created
Dispensation.
there. Yeah.
And I think another issue, that one of the biggest issues really is who can refer somebody to the program.
Mhm.
And so according to the Act right now, it's really just limited to the court and the police. And even though the police are responsible for referring, they don't refer as much as they should.
Yeah.
And so when you look at the cases that are referred by the police, it's not actually the JCF themselves, it's CISOCA. So that's the Center for the Investigation of Sexual Offences and Child Abuse. And so it's CISOCA mainly referring persons or children to the Child Diversion Programme. And so one of the solutions that we're really looking to is to expand who can refer.
Yes.
And so even things like prosecutors being able to refer outside of court, or even just having persons or the CPFSA
Right.
being able to refer children, that would be excellent, because child diversion is a good thing and we want it to be accessible
Everybody.
to as many persons
Yeah.
as possible.
Because we want the community
Yes.
to be able to grow the child.
Yes.
Getting back to the Jamaica, we say,
It takes a village.
It takes a
it's a
village
village
to raise a
right.
child. Yes.
And even though that is there, the gaps and so, Tamoy, it's not all bad. Because I've heard, well, based on statistics, over 2,000 children have been successfully diverted
Yes.
through
Snap,
the
snap,
through,
snap, snap,
yeah, through the
snap.
program. And when you look on non-compliance, non-compliance is below 3%.
Okay.
So
Not too bad. Yeah.
It's not all bad.
There's some
It's not all
wins,
bad.
but there's always room for
There's always room
improvement.
for improvement.
Yes.
So,
If
sorry,
we're
Deshaun.
looking to protect our children, we should always be thinking about how can we make
How
these
can we make
programs
this better?
better to better serve our children and to better protect their interests.
And I would only add further that if we want the program to be expanded and more people utilizing it, it needs more funding
Yes.
because it takes cash to care.
Definitely.
So we need more funding. We need more
That's
child. We need more diversion programs and officers, and of course, everybody being equipped with the proper skill set to deal with these sensitive issues. Because remember, children we're dealing with and they're vulnerable.
Yes.
We're wrapping up. I'm gonna want your quick last thoughts, comments, takeaways, anything that you think people should really walk away with from this conversation. I start with Xavier, so you can catch your break.
Yes,
Deshaun.
ma'am.
Yes, Deshaun. I just want to say, Jamaica. A child that's doing that has committed a wrong or is in conflict with the law, the first thought that comes to mind should not be to throw them behind bars, because guess what? There is an alternative avenue there for them, and that particular avenue is not punitive at all. It allows them to accept the wrong that they would have done and find a way to help them to be diverted so that they can be reintegrated into society as better people. And I believe that should be the first resort, and incarceration the last resort.
And I think if I were to add anything, I would really just say, let's just do away with this notion that child diversion is really just a slap on the wrist. Let's just do away with this notion that depicting them a viper and there's no change in them, because change is possible.
Yes.
And as you mentioned, the over 2,000 children that have been successfully rehabilitated and reintegrated into society because of the child diversion. That's 2,000 children, or over 2,000 children diverted from the prison system. That's 2,000 children given a second chance. And so child diversion is the future. It's the best solution that we can come up with. Now, yes, there are some errors, and yes, it needs some improvement. But let's just not throw it away completely.
Right.
Let's build on it. Let's extend its capacity, and let's come together as a society and understand that this is something essential and quintessential to actually getting justice within our society.
Remain as Jackie is a prison on a bed of roses. And we don't want our young people to go there. There are opportunities and there is resources like the Child Diversion Programme
Yes.
that's there to help children to get away from the formal justice system. Well, we want to hear your thoughts. So remember to like, share, comment, share this video with your mother, your father, the cat, the whole of Jamaica.
Everybody.
And let us know your thoughts on child diversion. Until next time, this is Just Keep podcast brought to you by JFJ and Walk Good. Later.